Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, it is time for us to look back at the 2023 summer anime season. That's right, it's another one of these videos. I've done one for winter, which is on the second channel, and I did one for spring earlier this year on this channel. Now it's time to get into summer. So, what have I watched across this season? Let's get into that. I've watched The Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2 Part 2. I've watched Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 3. I've watched Horimiya Pieces. I've watched The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses, and finally, I've watched Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. So let's get into talking about all of these shows. We'll start off with the one I enjoyed the least, which was The Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2 Part 2. This show, I actually dropped this show. When there was about 5 to 6 episodes left of the season, I just stopped watching because I just wasn't enjoying it. It obviously followed on from the first half of Season 2, which was last year, with more of Alas Ramos and people from her world coming into the real world. That's the gist of what goes on. We spend quite a bit of time with Amelia looking for her father. But yeah, overall, I just didn't enjoy this as much as I enjoyed the first half of Season 2 last year. And really, that's all I want to talk about for The Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2 Part 2. There was so much hype building off of this when it came back last year. But it's already worn off on me, at least. To where I dropped it, making it the second show this year that I've dropped. Of course, I dropped Spy Classroom in the winter season of this year. And the second season of that show was airing during this anime season as well. Now we'll get on to shows I actually did enjoy. So next up we've got Horimiya Pieces. Of course, Horimiya is a show I actually covered on the channel in the first half of 2021. And basically, this isn't so much a season 2 of the show. It's more, it adapts parts of the manga that the original show didn't. A bit like the 2 special episodes of the quintuplets, only this was another entire season of stories that were adapted instead of just a couple episodes. So it shows us different. It shows different points of the show. All of it is it starts though after Miyamura has become friends with all the characters that he's friends with at the end of the original show. And these stories, they're not exactly connected like the regular episodes of the show. But these stories do seem to focus on specific characters a lot more than what the original show did. Which is something I actually quite enjoyed about it. Because it gave us a deeper insight to some of the other characters outside of Miyamura and Hori, because as much as it gave us a bit of insight in the show to begin with, it gives us a more deeper insight this time round. And give certain characters their own episodes, which it only did bits and pieces of that in the original series. And so I originally didn't enjoy Horimiya, the original show, when I watched it. And I'm pretty sure I talked about that in the video I made back in 2021. But I had watched it again since and enjoyed it a lot more the second time round. So I was fairly excited for this, and I quite enjoyed this show. It shows us that Horimiya could have been 24 episodes long or 25 instead of 13. Next, let's get on to Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 3. Every time Rent-A-Girlfriend gets an announcement, and by the time this video goes up, who knows, Season 4 of the show might have been announced. So, Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 3 is largely focused on one single thing. And that's Kazuya and Chizuru creating a movie for Chizuru's grandmother, Granny Sayori, who doesn't have that much longer left to live. And Chizuru's dream has always been for her grandmother to see her shining on screen. And of course, right at the end of Season 2, Chizuru asks Kaguya, can he do it? And he says yes, and that is what a very large part of what Season 3 is about, creating this movie. Kazuya is the producer, Chizuru is the lead actress, of course. So Kazuya learns about kickstarting and how to get the production of the movie started. He works himself to the bone to get this to get all of this created. And in the midst of all this, Ruka even joins in to help, as does Sumi, best girl. Yes, I will die on that hill that Sumi is the best character in Rent-A-Girlfriend. I will die on that hill. But we have a brand new character that's introduced for Season 3, called Mini Yamari. And she basically replaces Mami-chan for this season, because even though Mami appears in the openings and endings of every episode, she doesn't actually show up at all. Now, I am recording this before the final episode of Season 3 has been released, so she could appear in that one, but I highly doubt it. But so far, she hasn't appeared at all in Season 3. She's not been there at all. Which is a good thing, because she's by far the worst character in the show. So her not being there is obviously a positive. But yeah, instead we have Yamari, who is basically the replacement for her. She's basically a cosplayer and streamer. Because of course she is. They had to throw something like this in, didn't they? But she doesn't have any sort of feelings towards Kazuya. Instead, she is actually kind of like his wing woman from afar. He tries to set up Kazuya and Chizuru in situations that would deem to be romantic. Even if she doesn't tell Kazuya beforehand that that's what she's doing. But personally, I think she is a huge breath of fresh air. And a much greatly added character to the series. That's what this Render Girlfriend kind of needed. It needed a different character towards Mami. And giving us an energetic, slightly naughty, if you know what I mean, character in Yamari is exactly what we needed from the show. I liked her straight away. I thought she was a great character and brilliant addition to the show. Next, we've got The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. A very odd name for a show, and a more accurate name for this show would be The Girl I Like Misplaces Her Glasses so much that she's definitely doing it on purpose. But that's an even worse sounding title and longer title. This follows the story of a middle school student. Sorry about that. A middle school student called Komura, and sitting next to, and the girl that sits next to him is called Mie. And Komura has a pretty huge crush on Mie. And the two of them first interact because Mie forgets her glasses. That's the main gimmick of the show. Mie keeps forgetting her glasses, so she has Komura helping her with tasks such as taking notes in class because she can't see them, or helping her get from one place to another because she can't see very well. Things like that. It's a very, very wholesome show. And what I was excited for a little while, once I heard about it. It's just so... It really is just wholesome how the two of them... How Komura may or may not have some indecent thoughts about himself and Mie. But the two of them have a wonderful relationship together. And Komura always does his best to help Mie with whatever she needs help with. But he also respects Mie's boundaries and doesn't try to force himself into doing anything that she doesn't want. I hope this show gets a season 2 because it was a great time. And one of the new shows this year that I was vastly excited for, and it did not disappoint. And finally, it's time for us to talk about Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. If you could, by the name, you can probably tell it's a zombie anime. And it's a very, very damn good one. Probably the best zombie anime I've seen. But that's not saying much considering I haven't seen very many at all. Zombie 100 follows the story of Akira Tendo, who for the past 3 years has been working himself half to death in a corporate office job that he absolutely hates. His boss treats him like a piece of dirt he found on the bottom of his shoe. He works super long hours for almost zero overtime pay. And really, his whole life is just a complete mess. Kind of like the production for this show, as this show has had so many different occasions where this show has had an episode delayed by either a day or a week. And at the time of recording this, the final 3 episodes of the show don't have a release date yet, because the show is on hiatus at the minute, because what a mess the production of the show is. The studio's leaving during production. It's so much is going on, which is a massive shame because the show itself is actually really good. But back to the show, Akira basically works for an exploitive company that exploits all its employees for as little bonus as possible, which is something that actually does happen in Japan. Like, a lot of office workers in Japan are very unhappy, like Akira. The very first episode of the show, it starts with him watching a zombie movie and saying, I wish something like that would actually happen in real life. He wakes up the next day, and wouldn't you know it, it has happened. A zombie apocalypse has broken out. And instead of what most people would do in most shows and movies, panic, he does the complete opposite. He starts jumping for joy at the fact a zombie apocalypse has happened because he doesn't have to go to work that day. It's such a small and simple thing, but sometimes those are the things that mean the most. So he jet sets all around Japan, around his the city he lives in. He jet sets around Tokyo, goes to see his best friend Kencho, who happens to appear naked in this show many different times. At least about 5 times 5 different times in the show he's naked for one reason or another. The two of them also run into the 2 female main characters of the show, Shizuka and the girl who's on the thumbnail of this video, Beatrix, who is German, and we get a combination of Japanese and German from her in the few episodes we've seen of her so far. The thing that makes Zombie 100 so great is it takes a zombie apocalypse and has fun with it. It doesn't make it something like The Walking Dead, where everything's always got to be serious. It has fun with it. Even though it's the end of the world, the main character is having fun, which is something that not enough zombie media does. I mean, for God's sake, Akira and Tendo risked their lives, which includes a gas explosion, just to get a plasma screen TV. You don't get things like that in other zombie media. That's what makes Zombie 100 Bucket List of the Dead so fun. And the whole premise of the show is Akira wants to do. There's 100 things Akira wants to do before turning into a zombie, and he writes them down as a bucket list. And Shizuka all just so happen to be doing the exact same thing, but their lists are vastly different. Shizuka's list is more serious and survival minded. Akira's is just whatever he can think of, and it's absolutely not serious in the slightest. It's a great fun time, and probably the show I've enjoyed the most across the summer season. And that concludes my looking back at the 2023 summer anime season. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, catch you later.